What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 9:37 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East and also from Europe and Asia. So I want to just go over some of the main headlines with you. So the U.S. has launched another operation in Iraq and Syria today, targeting Iranian proxies after the Iranian proxies launched multiple ATTACKS on U.S. forces in the region the past 2 days. And Russia launched a massive missile ATTACK on Ukraine last night. A retired U.S. general is saying he has credible information that North Korea is planning an ATTACK on South Korea, potentially even a nuclear one. And Russia is putting up air defenses in St. Petersburg, and there were reports today of unidentified aircraft flying over the city. And the U.S. is officially adding the USS Teddy Roosevelt aircraft carrier to the 7th Fleet of the U.S. Navy, which is responsible for the Western Pacific. And it is currently about halfway to Japan and South Korea. And the timing is very interesting with everything going on with North Korea and China and Taiwan. North Korea tested multiple new missiles over the last 2 months. They tested a solid fueled ICBM with a range of 15,000 kilometers. They tested an intermediate range ballistic missile with a hypersonic glide vehicle. And they also launched hundreds of artillery shells into South Korean waters just about a month ago. So the situation is escalating on the Korean Peninsula. And we have a retired general saying that there's credible information that North Korea is planning something. And Taiwan's Navy is establishing a new missile command center. The base will be in the central part of Taiwan, and the Texas National Guard is continuing to erect razor wire fencing along the southern border with Mexico. So I want to just read to you this statement from U.S. Central Command about the operation that they launched today in Iraq and Syria. They wrote here, in response to ATTACKS by the Iranian-backed militia group Kataib Hezbollah, including the ATTACK on Al-Assad Air Base in western Iraq on January 20 and on January 24, U.S. CENTCOM forces conducted unilateral air operations against 3 facilities used by Iranian-backed Kataib Hezbollah militia group and other Iranian-affiliated groups in Iraq. These operations targeted Kataib Hezbollah headquarters, storage, and training locations for rocket, missile, and one-way attack UAV capabilities. Okay, so they hit their headquarters. So that's pretty interesting. And I want to just read to you some information here from Middle Eastern sources. So I'm hearing from sources in the region that this STRIKE was focused on the Al Qaim border crossing between Iraq and Syria, where apparently some convoys were taken out. There was also an air raid on Jerf al-Sakhar, which is south of Baghdad. And there was also a raid on the Turabil border crossing with Jordan. So very interesting. And I want to remind you guys what I reported yesterday from a VOA reporter by the name of Carla Bob. And she said that a U.S. official told her that as many as 83 U.S. soldiers have been injured since the beginning of the war in Gaza. And we have various Arabian media sources reporting that there are casualties after the operation by U.S. forces. And sources linked to Iranian-backed militias are reporting that at least 2 of their members have been eliminated tonight by the U.S. operation on the Al Anbar province in western Iraq. And other sources in the region are reporting that U.S. forces targeted a gathering of buses and trucks. And this shows that the U.S. has really good intelligence because they knew exactly which vehicles to hit and where they were going. And the spokesman for the Kataib Hezbollah, Jafar al-Husani, stated that tonight's operation against their facilities in Iraq changes nothing, and that they will continue with their targeting of U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. Okay, so one of the leaders of this Iranian proxy is saying that it's not going to change anything. And he also said that they're going to move towards their next phase of operations against U.S. forces in the region as a response to tonight's operations. And this second phase includes imposing a blockade in the maritime sector for Israel in the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, and this is actually what this guy said himself, okay, directly. He said that they're going to impose some kind of blockade on Israel. And the U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said, "We are fully prepared to take further measures to protect our people and our facilities." And we have some interesting information coming in from a viewer of this channel. Someone sent me an email saying that they know someone who works at Fort Bragg, and they heard that a rapid response team was getting called up and that there were almost a dozen C-17s lining up at Fort Bragg. And this person said they have not seen this many C-17s in over a decade. Okay. And here we actually have a flight tracker showing multiple C-17s and C-130s going into Fayetteville. Okay, that's where Fort Bragg is. It's now called Fort Liberty. Okay, and if you guys are not aware of what Fort Bragg is, it's where the Special Forces are located. Okay, that's their home base for the Green Berets. Okay, so if they're getting some kind of rapid response team together, that means that they're deploying to potentially Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Lebanon. I mean, it's hard to say, but that is very concerning if there's over a dozen C-17s lining up. And the Russian military has deployed S-300 air defense systems in the St. Petersburg area. And apparently there were some more drones flying over St. Petersburg today. And last night, Russia launched a massive missile ATACMS against Ukraine. Apparently, 9 people have been killed, and over 80 people have been injured. And Ukraine said they shot down 21 out of the 41 Russian missiles. And they're saying they shot down all of the Russian Kh-101 cruise missiles that were fired at them. And they intercepted 5 Iskander ballistic missiles and 1 aerial guided missile, the Kh-59. And apparently Kharkiv, the city in northeastern Ukraine, close to the Russian border, was particularly hit hard, where apparently there's now over 11,000 people without power due to these STRIKES. And apparently Russia launched a combination of S-300s, Kh-32s, and Iskanders towards Kharkiv. And also Kyiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and Sumy were also targeted. And also Russia targeted some critical infrastructure in the city of Shastka in the Sumy Oblast. So very interesting. And the New York Times reported today that Russia is using relatively accurate, recently designed North Korean missiles against Ukraine that are proving to be as accurate as Russian home-built missiles. The effectiveness of North Korean missiles is worrying Western officials, as research suggests they have been designed quite recently and are proving to be relatively accurate, the New York Times said. Okay, so very concerning. Want to just update you guys on that missile detector plane that was flying over North Dakota earlier this afternoon. It appears to have landed at Offutt Air Base, but it was doing these loops over central North Dakota. And I want to just play this radio signal that has been broadcasting for the last 2 days on dozens of radio frequencies, and many amateur radio experts believe this is the Russian doomsday weapon known as the dead hand system or perimeter. This was made during the USSR when Russia basically wanted a guarantee that their nuclear weapons would be launched even if their top brass were eliminated in a preemptive strike. Okay, so this is an auto launching system that has sensors that can detect whether nuclear detonations have occurred on Russian soil, and if they have, then the computer checks to see if the Russian top brass is still alive and if they've launched a retaliation strike. If not, then the computer will auto launch the entire Russian nuclear arsenal at predetermined targets. So apparently, this signal that's been broadcasting worldwide on dozens of frequencies is this dead hand system being activated. Now, one of the designers of the dead hand system specifically said that this system stays dormant until there's some kind of crisis in the world, and then Russia could activate it, kind of like you arm an alarm in your car or in your house. And so this noise or radio signal is sort of like a blinking red light for a car alarm, letting you know that the system is activated. So let me just play a little bit of this for you. So you can hear that ticking noise. And I want to remind you that NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that NATO is going to spend over €1 billion on hundreds of thousands of artillery shells.
Just concluded contracts worth $1.2 billion to buy hundreds of thousands of rounds of 155 millimeter artillery ammunition. $1.2 billion to buy hundreds of thousands of rounds of 155 millimeter artillery ammunition.
Hundreds of thousands of rounds of artillery ammunition, guys. Okay, you don't buy that many artillery shells to replenish your stocks. I mean, we didn't even give that many to Ukraine. So this is very concerning, and NATO is doing that massive exercise with 90,000 troops. It just started yesterday, and I believe this is a cover for a forward deployment by NATO. Putin is going to Kaliningrad this week. He hasn't been to Kaliningrad in a very long time. And that's like the equivalent of a Soviet leader going to East Berlin, okay? Because the Kaliningrad province of Russia is literally right on the front line with NATO. It's sandwiched between Lithuania and Poland. So for Putin to go to Kaliningrad is a big deal. That would be like Biden going to Finland or Estonia, okay? So he's right there on the front line with NATO, right next to the Suwalki Gap, which is the modern-day Fulda Gap. That's where World War III could break out and where nuclear war could start. And there was also that leaked German government document that said that NATO was preparing for some type of an escalation with Russia by the end of this year, that Russia could potentially invade the Baltics. The Baltic countries have already developed a plan to build a massive fortification line similar to the Maginot Line. And Estonia is going to be building 600 bunkers along their border with Russia. And Germany is going to be transferring military helicopters to Ukraine for the first time ever. Germany will transfer decommissioned Sea King Mk-41 multi-purpose military helicopters to Ukraine. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius announced today this would be Germany's first provision of military helicopters to Ukraine. And a recent study from the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies indicated that North Korea is actively developing artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities, employing these technologies in various domains such as safeguarding nuclear reactors, conducting war games, and enhancing government surveillance. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply has brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you have to go to preparewithNYPrepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. And this 3-month emergency food supply has a 25-year shelf life and includes over 2,000 calories per day. All of this food is stored within 6 rugged, water-resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. And My Patriot Supply is also doing a 30% discount on the Vesta self-powered indoor space heater and stove. With this thing, you can safely heat and cook indoors. You don't have to worry about carbon monoxide poisoning. You don't have to worry about burning your house down. It uses special canned heat, and it comes with 24 cans. Each can will last you 6 hours and can warm up a room of 200 square feet. So to get the deal, also go to preparewithNYPrepper.com. And also, My Patriot Supply has a general store where they sell all kinds of prepping and survival items. To get to that store, you just click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page, and it'll take you to their general store. And they have all different kinds of discounts here on various items. They have MREs, they have water filters, they have potassium iodides, fire starters, anything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply and 30% off of the Vesta indoor space heater and stove. And we have this interesting notice that was put out by the British Maritime Organization, and it's showing that Pakistan has scheduled live fire exercises for today and tomorrow. The last time Pakistan scheduled live fire exercises, they launched an STRIKE into Iran. So I don't know if they're planning something again, but we'll have to wait and see. Dmitry Medvedev, the former Russian president and Putin's close friend, said war with the United States over Alaska is inevitable. And this is coming after all the hysteria on social media showing documents that Putin signed a decree that Alaska belongs to Russia. I don't know what to think about this. I think he's just kind of playing along with it and having fun with it. I wouldn't really take it too seriously. And according to senior Egyptian officials, the Israeli government has delivered an offer to Hamas for a 2-month ceasefire in exchange for the release of all Israeli detainees. And apparently, Hamas has turned down this Israeli proposal, and White House senior advisor Brett McGurk is currently in the region engaging in discussions with Egyptian and Qatari officials regarding a possible detainee exchange deal. So they're working on it, guys. We'll see what happens. And the Houthi spokesman confirmed last night's air raids on Yemen by the US and the UK. He said that the American and British aggression aircraft launched 18 air raids. Apparently 12 hit the Amanat al-Asima and Sana'a governorate, 3 raids on the Hodeidah governorate, 2 raids on the Taiz governorate, and a raid on the Al-Baida governorate. And he said these attacks will not go unanswered and unpunished. And New Zealand has announced that they will be joining the Red Sea Coalition to keep the shipping lanes open and to battle the Houthis. And the Israeli Defense Forces have stated that it carried out air raids today on several Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon, including at least one operated by the IRGC as a response to an attack earlier today by Hezbollah against an air surveillance base in northern Israel. Okay, so more air raids on southern Lebanon, and Hezbollah is continuing to strike northern Israel. And apparently there's a power outage in northern Israel right now after several Hezbollah missiles fell, and they were launched from Lebanon. And here we have some footage coming out of St. Petersburg showing Russia deploying S-300 air defenses in St. Petersburg. This is another sign, guys, that Russia is preparing for an escalation. It could also be related to those drones that Ukraine sent to St. Petersburg in the last week or two. One of them flew over Putin's house in Valdai. Another one hit a very important fuel depot. So Russia might be deploying these because of Ukraine's drone capabilities now, but it could also be due to the situation with NATO. I don't know, guys. And the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt is now operating in the U.S. 7th Fleet. USNI News has learned the carrier chopped into the 7th Fleet area of responsibility over the weekend, a defense official confirmed to USNI News. This is that aircraft carrier that was supposed to stay in San Diego for a few months. It was deployed on January 11th. So this is very concerning. Obviously, the U.S. is beefing up its presence in the Western Pacific because of Korea and China. Okay, the 7th Fleet is the largest of the U.S. Navy's forward deployed fleets. At any given time, there are between 50 and 70 warships and submarines, 150 aircraft, and more than 27,000 sailors and Marines in the 7th Fleet. The aircraft carrier Teddy Roosevelt is embarked with Carrier Strike Group 9 and Carrier Air Wing 11, which includes a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser, USS Lake Erie, and Arleigh Burke-class destroyers USS Halsey, USS John McCain, and USS Daniel Inouye. And the North Korean Foreign Ministry said in a statement that Russia and North Korea agreed to further strategic and tactical cooperation to defend their core interests and establish a new multipolarized international order. Okay, so North Korea and Russia want to work together on tactical and strategic situations. Okay, so tactical, that's pretty concerning. Now we know that North Korea has sent 5,000 containers of ammunition to Russia. Okay, so their cooperation is definitely deepening, and suddenly North Korea has been testing advanced weapons like solid-fueled missiles. They tested that solid-fueled ICBM a few weeks ago. They tested the solid-fueled intermediate range missile with the hypersonic warhead, and they also launched a spy satellite. And here we have a new propaganda poster that was released by North Korea, and it says that North Korea will crush South Korea and the U.S. So absolutely insane, guys. North Korea is really getting bold now. And we have retired U.S. General Barry R. McCaffrey saying that there's alarming reporting of North Korean potential aggression coming from several sources. Speculation that Kim Jong-un is considering an attack on the South to include possible use of a nuclear weapon. Okay, so this is retired General McCaffrey. Okay, so very concerning. And I want to just share some footage coming out of Russia's Far East. So apparently some partisans in the city of Vladivostok have set fire to or somehow damaged transformers in the city, plunging the city into darkness. And you can see here on this video these transformers going up in smoke. Okay, multiple transformers were damaged simultaneously, so this was definitely coordinated. And whether this is Ukraine, I have no idea. But you could see that transformer going up right there in smoke, and then another one right there. Okay, and Taiwan's Navy is apparently establishing a new missile command center. The base will be in the central county of Yunlin and be responsible for overseeing the country's anti-ship missile capability. So Taiwan is getting ready, okay? And I want to just show you guys the location of all U.S. naval assets in the world. This was updated by USNI News yesterday, and you can see the USS Teddy Roosevelt is halfway across the Pacific already, so it's going fast, guys. I mean, just in the last 12 days, it went halfway across the Pacific, so it's rushing to get to Japan or Korea. So, very serious situation, guys. And the Turkish parliament ratified Sweden's application to join NATO today, but Hungary still has not approved Sweden's entry into NATO. And the Russian army targeted the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv today. According to preliminary data, 3 people have DIED and 30 others were injured. And Poland is now joining the G7 countries in providing security guarantees for Ukraine after a meeting between President Zelensky and the new leftist Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, in Kyiv today. Poland also agreed to provide financial support for Ukrainian arms purchases and to launch joint weapons production. Poland's new prime minister called for full mobilization of the Western world in support of Ukraine. And there was a large-scale air raid declared throughout Ukraine this morning as the takeoff of Russian MiG-31Ks were recorded. And we have these farmers in France blocking major highways. Here we have a picture showing the A16 highway blocking both directions of traffic, which leads to one of the international airports in Paris. Okay, so these farmers are protesting all across Europe, guys. And we have some breaking news coming from the southern border. Apparently, the Texas National Guard is setting up more razor wire in Eagle Pass. And this is even after the Supreme Court ordered the Texas National Guard to stop going against the Biden administration, but they're continuing to basically operate like they're a separate country. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I will be back tomorrow with more breaking news. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell down below so you get notified when I post these updates. And tomorrow I'm going to be releasing the winners of the 100,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm going to post the winners in my community section. So if you're a winner, please email me and I'll send you your free item. So have a good night, guys. See you tomorrow. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.